So API. So API stands for Application Programming Interface. Okay, so which is a set of rules and protocols that allows different software applications to communicate with each other. Okay, so in the previous application, what we have done is our backend and front end is maintaining by Django, right? So we are dealing with our backend part and the front end part using MVT technology, which is model view template. Okay, so entire thing is controlled by Django. Okay, but in real world, so we can't solely depend upon websites, right? So if you take an example like Instagram or Facebook, so you will have a website for Facebook, okay, and you will have an Android app, okay, and you will have an iOS, right? So these three will be developed using three different technologies, right? So this website is developed by React, okay. This Android is developed by maybe Kotlin or Java, okay. So iOS is developed by some iOS language like Swift or XOS, okay. So like this, these three apps are developed by three different technologies, okay. But these three will be, but these three applications will have same database, okay. So which synchronizes data between all the three applications, okay. But to the way to communicate for these three technologies will be should be the same communication, right? So because this Android doesn't support backend, I mean there is no inbuilt backend in Kotlin or Java in Kotlin language. Okay, and the same way in iOS, these all three are only for UI development. UI development in the sense front end part. Okay, so these three won't deal with the backend part. Okay, so in that case, to deal with the backend part and communicate through to different technologies, we have to follow a protocol. Okay, so here, for example, you are saying is a server, okay, and we have to communicate with the three different applications, okay. So the way of communicating between uh, different applications to this particular single server can be possible using APIs, okay. So with this feature, backend can be any technology, okay. So it can be Python, Java, okay, PHP, okay, Firebase, MongoDB, whatever the technology it may be. So you can communicate independently whatever the front end technology. Okay. So these type of communication is called can be possible using API. Okay. So API is a set of rules and protocols that allows different software applications to communicate each other. Okay. So like this you can communicate. Okay. So now that's how our Android apps works. Okay. So in Android apps there is no inbuilt backend. Okay. The communication to the our Android apps or any applications is happening through APIs. Okay. So these are called as APIs. So we generally follow REST API. The REST API stands for representational state transfer. Okay, so this follows the principles of REST architecture. So REST architecture APIs are used. You are used. Are you sorry? The REST architecture APIs use standard HTTP methods. Okay, so we have already discussed about HTTP methods, right? So the standard HTTP methods are get, post, put, and delete. Okay. So using these standard HTTP methods, we make the communication in our HTTP in our REST APIs. Okay. So these are the principles that are followed by REST APIs. So we are making communication from backend to frontend, right? So this is our server, and these are our different frontend applications. Okay. So we are making communication using REST API. Okay. So how the data will be transferred? There is a format for the type of data that we transfer. So we generally transfer our representational table data in the form of JSON data. Okay, so this JSON data is called as JavaScript object notation data. Okay, so using JSON data, we transfer from backend to frontend. Okay, so which means, for example, we have some table data in our in our backend. Okay, so we have all the list of all the table of users. Okay, so we will convert this data into JSON. Okay, and send them back to front end. Okay, so in the front end, so it will convert this JSON data to its respective JavaScript data. Just a second, I have to take a call. Uh, so the communication between backend and front end will be happened in the form of JSON data. Okay, so this JSON, before sending data from backend to frontend, we convert this data into JSON format, and this JSON format data will be received at the frontend part, and this frontend part will be converted into the respective frontend framework data. Okay, this mostly will be converted into JavaScript data. Okay, just a second. That's how communication happens. So the JSON data will be in the format of just like our dictionaries. Okay, so we are familiar with our Python dictionaries, right? Which is a key value pairs. So the JSON data will be similar to our dictionaries. For example, so our table data, our if you have an user table data, so you retrieved one user, so that user data will be sent as ID equal to 1, name equal to okay, and some email equal to okay. So like this, this data will be converted. Your table data will be converted into this JSON format, and this data will be sent to your front-end framework. Okay. So in this front-end framework, this data will be received, and then it will be automatically converted into that particular front-end data. In JavaScript, it will be converted into in JavaScript. This type of data is called as objects. Okay, so this is different objects compared to our classes and objects. So this in JavaScript, our dictionaries are called as objects. Okay, so this type of representation is called as objects. So like this, you can send data. For example, if you want to send multiple users data, so this is single user data. So multiple users data will be converted into list of these JSON objects. Okay, so like this, your data will be transferred. So this object data will be read in your front-end part, and it will be applied to the UI part. Okay, so if you want to represent this data in front-end, so you will have a card. In this card, you will display from okay by reading this name value, and you will display uh, email address by reading this email field. Okay, so in this UI card, you will display like this. So let's see how to create APIs in Django. So I hope you understand why we are using APIs. APIs are used to communicate from one backend to different types of front ends at a time. Okay. And the same way, and there is one more use case of API, which is if you observe in our previous project, whatever the changes we are doing, so our page is refreshing, right? So if we try to create an movie, so it's the request is submitting, and then it's redirecting to other page, right? And same way, if you are editing, so it's redirecting to other page. The edit request is submitting, and it is again redirecting to the movie details page, right? So everything is happening by the page refresh or page change. Okay. So, but using APIs, the advantage is things can happen in the background. Okay. So, for example, if you do update, so update will be like if you do an update request. Okay. So this request will be sent in the background to the backend server. Okay, and it will give the response after update. So you can directly update the changes in your UI representation in live. Okay, so this is possible using APIs because we can communicate with the server in the background. Okay, so without APIs we can't do that communication in background. Okay, in the same way, if you see Instagram, so there will be like symbol, right? This heart symbol. Okay, so if you press it, so instantly your like will be applied. Your like will be submitted to the backend, and it will respond and it will turn to red color, right? So this is happening because of backend request. Okay, for example, so without this APS request, if you do this like request, so what should actually happen is it should refresh, and then so it will send that okay, the request is a like, so then it should then should be changed to red color. Okay, but instead of that refresh, what we are doing is, so in the background using API request, we are sending a request to the server. So it is giving a response that okay, it's updated. So then it is automatically changing to the red color. Similarly with the comments also. Okay, so comments also, so it doesn't happen any refresh, right? So automatically your commented data will be commented to that particular post, right? So all these things are happening in the background. Okay, this made possible using APIs. Okay. So now let's create a Django project. Okay, so to make REST API, you have to install additional module with this Django, which is Django REST framework. Okay, so Django and Django REST framework, you have to install this both. Okay, so now make your Django app project. This Django install project and app config. Okay, let me create an app as well. Sure. Okay. So now let us link our Apple settings. So in installed apps, okay, and I should add that test framework as well. Okay, so these should be added to. Now let us make a model. Let us create a model called as book. In this book, I will store some book details like title. Here I'm not using any relationships for now. Simple normal table. Okay, so like this, I have created a simple table called as book, which stores title, author, and language. Okay, so let us push this to database. Okay, so we have pushed this to database. You can check here. Store book is created with title, author, language. Okay, so now let us make URLs. Link this URLs to URLs. So here I am giving some subpath like API dot store. So here I don't have to worry about the default URL because this is completely backend. Okay, this doesn't have any front end. If you want, you can mix both front end and backend using Django application, and you can mix normal view API, normal API view URLs, and as well as API URLs. Here, my goal is to make Django application just for backend part. Okay, so these APIs will serve any front end. It will serve just HTML pages. Okay, or any React.js, AngularJS, okay, Flutter, Android app. So it will support any front-end application. Okay. So for that purpose, I'm making. So here I don't have to worry about the default page because I don't access any web pages in this application. Okay. So like this, I have linked the URLs. Now let me run the application. Okay. So now to make API URLs, you have to import few things. So to make APIs, first you have to create a serializer. So for every app, we create a serializer .py page. So what does this serializer do is you are here filtering what data should be sent to the front end. For example, in the previous example, we have seen the user model, right? So in user model, if you want to select the fields that should be sent to the front end, should be mentioned in this serializer. It's like you have created forms, right? So in the forms, you select the fields that require to automatically generate forms. So these serializers are used to select the required field names and translate them to JSON data. Okay, so for generating JSON data, we need these serializers. Okay, from REST framework dot serializers import model serializer. Okay, from REST framework dot serializers import model serializer. And now you have to import the model. From model import book. Okay, now make book serializer. In this, you have to inherit this model serializer. The class meta, you have to mention the model name, which is book, and fields. Okay, so what are the fields that should be sent to the front end? Okay, so if you want to select the particular fields, you can do that by passing them as a list or tuple, like title and other. Or if you want to send all the table, all the fields in the table, you can simply use all. So just like how we generated forms, so here to generate JSON data, so we have to create a serializer. Okay. So for this, you have to import from REST framework serializers. You have to import model serializer, and you have to send it. Okay. So now we have created model, we have created serializers. Now let's create the API views. Okay. So we don't need the render. So now from REST framework dot decorators import API view. Okay, and from REST framework dot response import response. Okay, and we have to import our model as well. Import book, and we have to import our serializer as well. Serializers. Spelling is right. Okay, so now let's create get books. So this will fetch all the books. So for now, there are no books in the table. Okay, so this request will be, so for this, you have to add a decorator called as API view. Okay, so I will explain about decorators in the next class. For now, so to convert this into APIs, you have to use these decorators. Okay, so here we are making a get request. So here we are requesting all the books. Okay, so here we have to mention what type of request does this view accepts. Okay, so in this, so I'm trying to retrieve all the books available, book dot objects dot all. Okay, so now to convert this into JSON data, so you have to pass this data into book serializer. Okay, if you are trying to retrieve more than one, okay, so in this case we are trying to retrieve all. Okay, so which will return, just a second. So sorry for the disturbance. So in this API, yeah. So here we are trying to convert this data into JSON data using serializers. Okay. So here we are reading the data into this particular serializer by passing books. Okay. So here since we have used all request, so it will return a list. Okay. So list of objects, whether it's empty or it's have just one or more objects in this request. So it will return a empty list. Okay, so it will return a list of objects. In that case, so if this is a, so you are passing a sequence of items, then we should mention many equal to true. Okay, so if this is a single book, which means, for example, if book equal to book dot objects dot get id equal to 1. So in this case, this is a single object. Here you will get a direct object data. Okay, so in this case, you don't have to mention many equal to true. Okay, so whenever you are trying to pass object of data, I mean, sorry, sequence of data, then you have to definitely should mention many equal to true, else you will get an error. Okay, so if you are passing a single objects, then you can directly pass that object to the serializer. You don't have to pass many equal to true. Okay, so remember that. So here we are trying to read all the books. Okay, so even though here this request will return empty, so it will return a empty list. Okay, so that's why you have to mention many equal to true. Okay, so to send response, so you have to import this response from this REST framework response. In this response, you can directly send serializer dot data. Okay, so this will convert your table data into JSON data. Okay, and send as a response. Okay, so now let us give an URL for this. So it's just like creating views, but with some minor changes. And django.urls import path on views import getbooks path getbooks. Okay, let's go with getbooks. Okay, so now to access this path, so generally we have to read them in our API request, but you can try to access them. So we have given the subpath, right? For all the URLs in this particular app, we have given a subpath. What is the subpath? So API store, API slash store. Okay, so you have to mention that API slash store, and then we have to mention the actual path of this particular view. Okay, so which is this get books. Okay, so which will return empty list. Okay, so this is actually a page provided by Django for common interface, but actually, so you don't get all this data. You simply get the actual data, right? So for testing purpose, you can use an application called as Postman. Okay, so which is used to test APIs. Okay, so copy this URL. Okay, and go to Postman and try to make a request. Okay, just a second. So go to you Postman and go to this URL, and here you can select what type of request is get, post, put, patch, delete, head options. So in this we mostly focus on our CRUD operations, get, post, put, and delete. Okay, so here we are trying to make get request. Okay, so this is URL, and now if you try to retrieve, so you get empty list as response. Okay, so this is the response. Okay, so here if you try to make any another request like post request for this particular URL, so you'll get method post not allowed. Okay, so because we have mentioned the accepted methods in this particular decorator. Okay, so like this you can access. Now let's try to create actual data. So to create data, create book. Okay, so in this create request, you have to read the data sent from the front end. So and then you can create that data. To read that, you can do either automatic process using serializers. Serializer dot data equal to request dot data. So this will automatically read the data. If serializer is valid, serializer dot save. So it will automatically save the data in your database. Return response serializer dot data. Okay. Else, if the data is not valid, the response can be serializer dot errors. Okay, so this will send the errors. Okay, so for this you have to add the decorator as API. So this decorator will make this particular function as API. So here we are trying to add new data, so that's why we have to use post request. Okay, so now to make this request, so we have to give an URL. Okay, so now go to Postman, add a new request. Okay, so this is our first request, right? Get books. Okay, which is returning empty. So second request is
Sir, you stopped the screen sharing.
really no, it's presenting right. We're unable to view,
Yes, sir.
but if it isn't presenting, I will try to represent it. Is it now visible?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay. So now the first request is get all books. Okay, I have given a name for organization purpose. Okay, and the second request is post request. So in this request, the URL is create book. Okay, so from in this request we are trying to create data. Okay, to create data we have to pass the data in the body. Okay, so in this body you have to select raw, and this here you have different types of data. So we have to select JSON, and in this JSON we have to mention the field names. Okay, so first one is title. So the title name is book one. Okay, and the next one is author. Author is author one. Okay, and the next one is language. Let's go with English. Okay, so like this we can send data in the body. Okay, now if you make send request, so it will be created in the database and it will respond with the same data as response. Okay, so this is created here, you can see. So the ID one is allotted. Okay, so like this you will get the response. So now if you go to your previous request, get all books. Okay, now so previously it returned empty list. Okay, so now if you try to send, so you will get list of books. So in this books you have one book, so you get one book data as like this. Okay, so let me try to create one more book. Book two, other one. Okay, so now if I try to send this request, so ID with ID2, this record is created in the database. So book two, other one, Kannada. Okay, so now if you go to get all books request, and if you try to request all the books, now you get list of books. So here you can see, so each record is separated by a comma. So it is like list of dictionaries. Okay, so but this type of data is called as JSON data. Okay, so this data will be written in the front end part, and this data will be using this data, the dynamically UI will be updated in your front end. Okay, so let us create other APIs as well. So here you can like this directly automatically read data and save, or if you want to manually save, you can save the data as well. So the manually can be saved as, first you have to read the data, request.data. Okay, so in this request.data, so to create a book, we have book. In this book we have to title equal to data dot data title. Okay, author equal to data author, the same way that my language equal to data language. Okay, so like this you can manually read the data, and you can create the data. If you prefer automation process, you can use the serializers. So by reading the data into request from request data book dot save, so this will save this data into particular database, and then to send this data back as a response, we have to convert, you have to send. So here it is a single record, right? So you can directly send that single record. You don't have to mention many equal to true. So and in the response, this will be your response. Okay. So like this you can make request as well. So this is manual process. So previous one is automation process. So now in this process, if you try to create another book, okay. So this will be created in the database, and it will respond with ID equal to 3. Okay. So if you go back to get all books, so you'll get all the three books. Okay. So like that, you can either prefer the automation process or manual process based on your requirement. Okay. So if you want to do some additional tasks or if you want to format your data, so you can go with this format so that you can pre-process this data. Next one is put request, which is for update, update book request. So in this also, you can choose either automatic process or manual process. For update, you need additional parameter because we have to specifically update a particular book. You can go with book ID. Okay, so first step is to read the book. Book ID and then serializer equal to book serializer, and you have to pass the book as initial parameter, and you have to pass the data equal to request dot data for updation. Okay, so if serializer is valid, serializer dot save, okay, and send response as serializer data as updated data. Okay, so after updation, so you will send the updated data as response. So if this updation process fails, we'll send the response as serializer address. So it will show what the error is. Okay, so like this, you can create a request. So you have to provide a URL, update book. So here you have to pass the dynamic value, which is book ID. Okay, so now to make the update request, so here you have to choose put request. So here update book. Okay, and you have to choose the ID as well. So here this is the book with the ID 2. So here I want to change the author to author 3 instead of using author 1. So in that case, frame body raw JSON, or let's copy this object. Okay. So now by sending update request. So here data will be updated from other 2 to other 1 to other 3. So this is the updated data as response. Now if you go and check get all books, so previously the data is other 1. So now if you make a new request, so you will get other as other 3. Okay. So like this, you can create update request. Finally, delete request. So delete request also similar. you have to retrieve by ID by book by ID, delete, and here the request should be delete and book dot delete return response. So you can send the empty response because the data will be deleted, or you can send the statuses. So there will be different HTTP statuses. So you can send the status as successfully deleted by sending status. So to send status, you have to import status. So HTTP 204 no content, which is a request sent after successful deletion. Okay. So there are different. So if a request is successfully executed, so you will get 200 as status. So if you can see the status codes here. So here I have requested. Here you can see the status is 200. Okay. Okay. So like that, there are some different HTTP status code messages. We have seen 404, which is for page not found. Okay. Like that, there will be different types of status codes. So you can see. So 204. 100 continue, 200 okay, 201 created. 201 created is sent after successfully posting new data. Okay, so like that, there are different types of status codes that should be. So 400 bad request, so 401 unauthorized. These are mostly used. 400, 401, 404 not found. So these are most widely used status codes. Most widely you see while developing your projects. Okay, so here I will send 201, 204, no content. So which means this content is successfully deleted, so there is no content. So now let us add a URL. Okay, so now if you go to add a new request, delete. So in this delete, so we have to mention delete book and the ID of the book we have to delete. And here I'm mentioning as one, and you don't have to mention any body. So simply this URL. So we'll delete, and here you can see the status is 204, no content, which means successfully deleted. So you can check, go to get books. So here I have tried to delete book one. So now if you try to check, so you get only book ID 2 and book ID 3. So book ID 1 is got successfully deleted. Okay, so like this you can perform all the three CRUD operations using APIs. Okay, so these API systems have any front-end application, whether it's Android app, okay, iOS app, web app, Linux app, okay, whatever the front-end technology. So you can serve APIs as backend. Okay, so this is a manual creation of each single API. So there is another process which is a fast process called as model view sets. We can develop entire four APIs in a single class that can be view sets import model view set. So in this model view set, so I will make class book view set. I will inherit model view set model equal to sorry, query set equal to book dot objects dot all, and you have to mention the serializer class. So serializer class is book serializer. Okay, so Now you have to give a path to this. To give path, you have to import from Django. Just response. I don't remember what is it. Django register. Register shortcuts. Code. Just a second. Okay, router default router. Okay, from REST framework router import default router. First, I have to register this default router, and then I have to add, and then I have to register the URLs. So here I have to import the user. Okay, so this is the URL for this particular user. So using this single URL, I can make all the 4 requests. Okay, I don't have to mention the slash. Okay. So using this single URL, I can make all the 4 requests. Okay, let's see how to make that. So, but you have to change this. So add request. So use set get. Okay, so in this use set get, so API. So I have to use book, right? So this book will return all the books available. Okay. Not found. Store book. Okay, so I have to add this to this paths. Include router dot. Okay, so now it will serve that. Okay, server got disconnected. App name. Okay, so now you can see. So by requesting the URL, so I got all the books. Okay, so now if I want to get a particular book, okay, so I can get a particular book by passing slash 2. Okay, so I'll get that particular book. Okay, so previously I got all the books. Now if I want to request a particular book, I can do that using this by mentioning ID with slash. Okay, so these are two get requests. Okay, so now to make other requests, which is post request, right? So in this post request, so what you have to do is here you have to change into post body. You have to use same URL JSON, and in this body book file. Okay, so now if you perform post request, so this will be created. So if you go to get request and view, so you can see that the third book is got created. Okay, so here you can see I am only updating request, the type of request, but I am using the same URL almost. Okay, so now to make put request, so change this to put request. So here we have to choose a particular ID to update, right? So let's choose a ID as 3. So ID 3, and then this I have to change the contents of this, right? So body raw. So here I want to change this to book 6, other 6. Okay, so now if I try to update request, so this data is got successfully updated. Okay, so you can check that using this. So this is what the book ID with the 3 got updated to this data. Finally, put request. For delete request. So for delete also, you have to mention the ID because we have to particularly choose it. So there is no need of body for delete request. So here you have to change this to delete. Okay, and if you simply request, make a request. So here you get 204 not content, which means successfully deleted. If you go and check, so you got ID with 3 is got successfully deleted. Okay, so if you want to fastly develop APIs without any extra modifications, you can straightforwardly develop using this model user. Okay, so using this simple 3 lines of code, this 3 lines of code is equal to all this code. Okay, so these are individual APIs. This is a model user API. Okay, so using single URL, so you can make all the requests. But so if you want to specifically do actions on a specific record, then you have to mention the ID. Else you can use the same URL. Okay, clear? Any doubts? Yeah, Abhijit.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have
Okay,
to go
so
through this and practice. I actually completed the project up to delete portion, but I haven't
mhm.
tried about relationship topic.
Okay. I mean, have you understood the today's topic?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So like this, we can create APIs. So in our next project, we will embed this APIs into our normal Django project so that we can do some background tasks. Okay. So in the next project, before next project, we will discuss about authentication and authorization. So how to create logins. Okay. So after that, discussing that topic, we will move to our final project. So in that, we will include all the topics we have learned.
Okay, so can you share your number on group so that if any doubt can contact you?
Okay. I will share. Okay then. So that's it for today. Practice yesterday's project and then practice this API search.
Okay, so can you also tell about the hosting this site?
Yeah, that will be in the final step of our project. After completing our
Okay,
final project, we'll host that in some server.
okay, sir.